Hello.
Hello.
I'm Leo Photos.
I'm David Gosz, and we are taking over _ Facebook Live right now. Let's go.
So basically what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about ourselves and then talk a little bit about this awesome project that we're working on right now. So David, who are we?
Well, we are colloquially known as Gosz Fotos, professionally known as Gosz Fotos. We're writers, producers, creators of musical theater here in Chicago. Big thanks to _ Theater Company for letting us take over today. We were actually in the 2018 Chicago Musical Theater Festival presented by _ where we had a very successful run with our show True. We had a sold-out run and we took home 2 awards for Best Choreography and Best Music.
So yeah, basically like David said, we're the writers and lyricists and composers and then producers of the musical True, TRU, and that musical, premiered at CMTF 2018 and then went on to make its official world premiere in 2019 at Stage 773. We absolutely love True, but we're not going to talk any more about it today because we have this super exciting project to talk about.
Well, what are we going to talk about then, Leo? I'm so used to talking about that one. Ugh.
I know. We're going to talk about this other musical that we're writing called SAN, S-A-N.
S-A-N?
S-A-N, like San Francisco or San Diego.
Can I ask you a question, Leo?
Yeah, what's up?
Why is it called SAN?
So here's the deal. So San Nicolas was this phenomenal, unbelievable, esteemed Mardi Gras designer.
He is basically the reason that Mardi Gras is the way that it is today. So he spent the second half of his life basically taking the private exclusivity of what Mardi Gras was, turning that on its head and making it the extravagant costumes and parades and parties that everyone associates with it today. He did this, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and in 1984, he became the king of Mardi Gras. And we have the privilege of telling his life story. We met him a little over 3 years ago now, and we are going to be sharing with you bits and pieces of the script of the musical that we've written, but we're also going to be sharing bits and pieces of his story actually in his own words.
The first time that we met San, we sat down for lunch with him as well as our other co-producer, Rocky Russo. When the 4 of us sat and San basically told us his entire life story, thinking that we would never see him again, but we ended up becoming best friends with him. And,
oh my gosh.
And had a whole 2-year crazy friendship with him. But a lot of the stories that you'll hear today are pieces of that first meeting that we had with him.
It's been super special to us. He died in November of 2018. So, we're now going on a year and a half without him calling us, set multiple times a week, bugging us, being like, how's my story? But we're really excited. Thank you, _ for letting us begin sharing his story with you all.
In this time that we have with everybody today, David and I are going to be telling some stories. San is going to be telling some stories, and we're going to be sharing some songs from the show.
So now, without further ado, let's hand it over to the man, San himself.
I want to know your names.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Leo and David.
We just want to hear your stories from your mouth so we can do you justice.
We have questions and questions.
If I can answer them correctly.
We feel like this is a story that so many people would connect to. More than I think you realize. I mean, it's unbelievable, your entire life. Let's start at the beginning.
Like this is at the beginning because I was born into poverty and didn't have to be, but I was. I was an artist, actually, like in school. I mean,
Like from what age did you discover your talent?
When I was young, real young. I was about 7.
About 7, okay.
I was so young, and like way ahead of my time. My mother was from Lisbon, Portugal. My father was Mexican and Spanish. And it was my little sister and I. Well, my little sister was my friend, And my little sister's name was Rita, R-I-T-A. So I was only 6 years old and she was 5, and I had to take care of her. I was a child taking care of a child, and like, she can't walk very well, but she couldn't walk. She always used to tell me, when my legs are fixed, I'm going to dance. I'm going to be so pretty, and like, we used to sing together. Mm-hmm. She'd sing a song, when there's a rainbow on the river, rainbow on the river. And I used to tie flowers in their hair, morning glories. That's the only flower we knew because they grow wild in the yard. And they die. I mean, it's morning glory, that evening they're dead. So they operated on it. Like my little sister died. Having that responsibility, that's only the beginning. Like I had never received a Christmas present. I didn't know what a Christmas present was, My little sister would get a present, but I wouldn't. My mother used to say, let's see if we can get you a star for your Christmas present. And we stand out on the porch, we look up at the sky, and she says, look at all the stars, which one do you want? And I said, oh my God, you know. She'd hold her hands up like that, and then she just clap her hands. She says, I think I got it, you know. And she says, look. And she'd open, there was no star. It's maybe next year, you'll get a star.
So in the song that you're about to hear called Wish Among the Stars, his mom is going to give him a star, and what is he going to wish for? And Sand, being sort of this brilliant 7-year-old that he is, doesn't wish for anything that a 7-year-old would wish for.
He instead wishes that he and his little sister Rita could go on this grand adventure together, where she is able to do all of the things that she isn't necessarily able to do because of her disability.
He's wishing for things like his mother's safety, and for his father to be nice, and then for his sister Rita. And it's really great to see San and Rita's relationship, you know, being 7 and being 6, and San having to deal with her disability and learn how to take care of her in the proper way and to love her in the proper way, and then learn how to deal with her loss. So this song is really special to the story of San's childhood. A star to wish upon, a star that's all my own. I wish I may, I wish I might, wish among the stars tonight. I wish for Rita, and I wish for me to go on an adventure where we don't have to worry. We could climb the tallest mountain, we could swing through the trees, we could dive into the ocean and sail all the 7 seas. Then Rita could leave her wagon and ride the waves with me. That's what I would wish for Rita and me. I'd wish that our adventure would take us to the moon, to an undiscovered planet where Rita and I can rule, and anything could happen if we dare to dream. That's what I would wish for Rita and me. I would wish for Mama, I'd wish for her the most, 'cause Papa's sometimes hurtful, and I know that is mean. I really want a star, 'cause I wish to save my Mama, and for Rita to grow stronger, so we could all adventure. I wish I may, I wish I might, wish among the stars tonight. Okie smokes.
Okie smokes. For those of you who are just tuning in a little bit later, I'm David Gosz.
I'm Leo Fotos.
And we make up the theater production company Gosz Fotos here in Chicago. And we are talking about our newest musical that is in development, San.
So basically what we just heard was a song that kind of covers a little story that San told about his childhood, whereas his mom used to reach up to the stars and try and get a star to give him for his Christmas present. Another character that San doesn't really talk about all that much in the footage that we're going to be showing you, but he does kind of refer to in a little bit, is Clarence. Clarence was sort of like his stepfather, but also like a stepbrother, but also like a best friend, but also like a neighbor. I mean, Clarence was kind of like all across the board the good guy in his life.
It's very fortunate that he was named Clarence, because if you're at all familiar with It's a Wonderful Life, Clarence is an angel. Clarence really was San's guardian angel throughout his childhood and young adulthood.
So Clarence is pretty important to his life, and then this other character, Lucky, who San's going to talk about in just a second here.
Tell them about Lucky, your friend Lucky.
Oh, like what happened, he lived around the corner from me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a good-looking guy, really nice looking. He was a little shorter than me. His father was brutal. His father used to make him sleep outside. So I found this out. And I told Clarence, I said, Clarence, what they doing to Lucky? He said, go get him and he can stay with us. You mean that? And then when he got a little bit older, he'd buy 2 cigarettes and 1 Coke. That's all the money his father would allow him. He'd bring it over and he'd pour half of the Coke for me and half for him. And he would light the cigarettes. And he'd give me a cigarette. And he'd say, I'll remember this all my whole life. Why answer the moon when we have the stars?
One last bottle shared, one last drink before I go. Will you? I don't know. One last cigarette, one last drag before I go. Do you? I don't know. One last night up here alone, just you and I beneath the stars. Will you remember this night we shared together on the roof? One last night up here alone, just you and I beneath the stars. Will you remember this night we shared together on this night we shared together? Remember the last night we shared together on the roof.
And that was Lucky. Just 2 kids who were mistreated and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to get away from his father, he joined the Merchant Marine. But he used to write and call, and he used to love this girl that I liked. When he came back, he'd bring her a present, but he'd bring me a present. The same thing he would give her, he'd give to me. And he'd always sign his pictures to me, my great friend, my very best friend, stuff like that. So anyway, this last time, he said, Sam, would you make a death mask of me? And I said, well, what? But he didn't know how it was done, but he figured I was an artist. I said, Lucky, I can't do that. And he said, please. And so he begged me to do it. So I fixed all the stuff up and I made this mask. And he was so happy, that I made the mask. He said, I gotta go, and this is my last trip, but I wanted to have this mask made. Now, I don't know, I just don't know how he was thinking. And then he had given me, on one of his trips, a bracelet, and one side it says, as time goes by, and the other side it says, I'll be seeing you. The 2 songs, like he called me up, transatlantic, whatever, saying, I got something for you, I'm coming in. But he said, saying, I love you, and I went, what? And that's the only time he ever said that, because I didn't think nothing like that, nothing. Because he liked this girl, Like anyway, like I was at work, and I come out of work in the back of the store, and here was my friend, the girl that he liked. We have to tell you something. And I said, what? He said, we have to tell you something. And they wouldn't tell me anything. I said, what do you have to tell me? And, and I said, what? Lucky's dead. They told me that Lucky's dead, just like that. He crashed in a plane in Richmond, Virginia. And for the funeral, there's nothing. And they used the mask I had on his coffin. The only thing I had was this bracelet. Because I'll be seeing you as time goes by. And that was one of the hardest things for me to take, hard.
So after losing Lucky, Sam decided he needed to get out of New Orleans and decided that he was going to follow his dreams and pursue his passions in fashion design and study it in New York.
So he took on all these odd jobs to basically pay for just that one train ticket. That's all he raised, hoping he'd figure it out once he got there.
Oh, I went to work I did everything. Like I cut grass. I was working in like in a department store. I painted sheds. I cleaned yards. I did all of that to save money. I got just enough money that I went to art school.
So Sam finally got himself a train ticket. He finally gets to the train station. He says goodbye to his mother and he hops on the train. And the way that he told us this story was that he got on the train and then that's when he started to finally feel a little bit anxious. And to sort of capture that anxiety and that feeling that he had when he was on that train for the first time, we wrote this song, To Be a Star.
That's why pretty much everyone went to New York in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You name a decade. That's why people go to New York.
This song, To Be a Star, is the end of Act 1. Who would have thought, after all that I've been through and coming from nothing, that I'd have this chance to be someone, to be a star? And who would have guessed, after all that I've lost and suffered through, that I'd have this chance to be someone, to be a star? The only thing handed to me in life was a paint set and a lot of emotions to draw on. I dreamed that someday I'd be sitting amongst the stars. I dreamed that some way I'd be more than who I'm supposed to be, and I'm gonna be. Soon I'm gonna be closer to the stars, closer to my dreams than I've ever been. And I follow them wherever they may take me, 'cause I've got to go after my dreams. Who would imagine that I will grow up and I'd find a way to chase the life I want to live as a someone, as a star. And no one believed me when I told them that I would leave this place. One day I leave this place behind me to be a star. The only thing left for me here, where I've been told to stay, are memories of every reason to move on. I dreamed that someday I'd be sitting amongst the stars. I dreamed that some way I'd be more than who I'm supposed to be, and I'm gonna be. Soon I'm gonna be closer to the stars, closer to my dreams than I've ever been. And I follow them wherever they may take me, 'cause I've got to go after my dreams. I dreamed that someday the world would see me as a star. I dreamed that some way I'd be more than who I'm supposed to be, and I'm gonna be. Now I'm finally closer to the stars, closer to my dreams than I've ever been. And I follow them exactly where they took me, and now I'm in the city of dreams.
like I drew these designs, like which I'll show you. It's a photograph, me sitting on the floor with him. It's a picture of me on the floor with all the sketches in background.
Here, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Holy cow.
This is what I did to go to New York. I had to show them that I had talent. But see, each one is like, they're all originals. And the school, they just said, oh, wow. They just couldn't believe it.
So many.
And you would just sketch and sketch and sketch.
Just I was determined to do this. That's not copies or anything like that.
Those are all originals.
In fact, the owner, Chuck Hagan, said, you're the only student, I have to tell you that has the full package. He says, it's striking looking. You have a terrific presence, and most of all, you have class. You are really marked for greatness.
So welcome back. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Leo Fotos.
I'm David Gosz.
We're Gosz Fotos. We are writers, producers, lyricists, composers.
We wrote True, which was in the 2018 Chicago Musical Theater Festival, hosted by Underscore. That's why they invited us. We're here to talk about our new musical, Sand, that is in development right now, and it is something else.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The cool thing about Sand is that a lot of musicals take place in New York, but I don't really know about a lot of musicals that take place in New Orleans. So we kind of get that sort of Broadway 1940s, 1950s feel of New York, but we get a whole lot of New Orleans too around the same time.
The juxtaposition of the two cities really, it was fun to bring that to life.
And we get Mardi Gras on stage. So it's just like a whole bunch of cool, and we're very excited. But Sand's about to start talking a little bit more about the part of his life when he was in New York. So let's let him talk.
I'll tell you about my first 6 hours in New York.
Go for it.
I was 19 then. After I saved up that whole year, got off the train, it's right the back of Macy's, Penn Station. I got off the train, I had my luggage. I never knew that cab drivers do not open the door for you, they're not courteous, New York. But I'm standing there waiting for the cars are stopping and driving off and cursing me, you know. And they had this man stand and watch me. He said, you know, I'm amused watching you. You have to be from out of town. That's again your eyes. Oh, I was scared. I was frightened. And so anyway, I promised myself when I go to New York, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to go to Carnegie Hall.
Yeah. So who'd you go and see that night?
So Rudolph Serkin. I walked in, you know, and all of a sudden people were talking, milling around. A lot of people in tuxedos, you know. And everything got quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And they're all looking at me, you know. And so I just looked and I nodded like that. The usher. And so I said, where's my seat? He said, you're on the ceiling.
It's on the ceiling.
I could touch the ceiling. So anyway, I said, what is that row down there? Well, that's the Gold Road. That's all the prestige people, you know, that have season tickets. That's all the culture. Anyway, I said, oh, I want to see that. So during the intermission, I walked down. And I'm looking like that. All of a sudden, these people yell, young man, stop, stop, stop. And I ran back up the steps. I said, please don't throw me out. He said, calm down. He said, just want to tell you something. I've never seen this in my life. Anyone that could walk into Carnegie Hall with the type of audience they have that would stop traffic as you did. Jack and Onassis, people like that could walk in and people just take it for granted. You know, I said, no, I'm afraid. I said, this is like that first night in New York. He said, your first night did this happen? He said, well, I tell you what, you better be careful where you go. He said, like I walked you back to your hotel. He walked me back to the hotel. He said, who put you in this hotel? He said, this is horrible. Pack up your things. I'm not going to let you stay in this hotel. You can stay with me. He says, I have a duplex. It's like a penthouse, you know.
Wow.
That was my first night.
Before the whole first 6 hours in New York thing, he has this moment where he's like, I'm going to go to Carnegie Hall. That's the place that he'd been telling himself he wanted to go. I mean, he just said it. I don't think we have this on recording, video recording. We definitely have it on audio recording somewhere. Sand goes to us, well, you know, I took 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. And David and I are like, all of a sudden, I mean, that's a song right there. We're like 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. I mean, that's the most rhythmic phrase I think that I've ever heard. So, here.
57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th and 7th and 7th and 7th. 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th to Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th and 7th and 7th and 7th. 57th.
I feel a tingling running through my fingertips.
And 7.
Sensation bursting in my
57th
toes.
and 7th and 7th and 7th and 7th. 57.
I am electrified, alive, completely mesmerized.
And 7.
I feel a rhythm that I've never felt before. And it feels like this, and it feels like that. And New York will see what I have in store. What a shame I won't get to see these streets. I'm sitting up here on cloud 9. It's a pity that instead of this city I've stepped off this train into heaven above. It's too bad I'll only see the sights from a bird's eye view as I'm walking on air. And I'll never take a step in New York if my feet never touch the ground.
57th and 7th and 57th and 7th. 57th and 7th and 7th. To Carnegie Hall. 57th and 7th and 57th and 7th. 57th and 7th. To Carnegie Hall. 57th.
I feel it trembling every time I walk these streets.
And 7.
A rumble with every passing train.
57th and 7th and 7th and 7th. 57.
An unequivocal reminder there's a deity.
And 7.
New York is where I'm meant to be. New York is where I'm meant to be. So San could go on for like 3 days about his first 6 hours in New York. We've got editing, and that's all that matters. But there's one guy that he kind of talks about a ton when he was in New York, and that guy's Ed Smitty. So this guy that he was talking about who helped him out on his first night there ended up being this really wealthy businessman who ended up becoming like his saving grace and his mentor, Ed Smitty.
You know, we're never really sure why Ed wanted to help San out. Maybe he saw potential there. Maybe he saw something. Ed took San under his wing and introduced him to all these like highbrow places on like the Upper East Side. He taught San, you know, how to dress, how to act, where to be, who to meet,
How to schmooze.
yeah, and just really I think San credited Ed with a lot of his charm, learning how to charm.
Tell him about Ed Smitty. Tell him about Ed Smitty.
Oh, Ed.
What did Ed look like?
Very businesslike. He was like very dignified. He looked like somebody with money because he had those kind of actions. And, well, he mapped out everything for me. Like, I said, you're mapping a place I can't afford to go to these places.
When you look to the sky back where you're from, you see the same stars every night. When you take to the streets back where you were born, you pass faces you've already seen. I know for a fact that where you were at hasn't a building that scrapes the sky. The sky where you're from stays where you're from. Tonight with me, you're under a different sky. Let me be your guide. I'll take you anywhere you like. If you need anything, I can provide. Let me be your guide. I'll show you all there is to see. I'll show you the ropes, and all your hopes and your dreams will come true. Just stick with me, and I'll stick with you. I'll stick with you. We'll take the scenic route tonight. We'll walk Central Park in the dark and take our time. So trust in me, and I'll trust in you. I'll trust in you.
So in New York, Zan quickly became like the top of his class, and then he worked nights as a greeter at like this jazz club called Basin Street, and he became friends with like celebrity after celebrity. It was the craziest thing.
Who are some of the folks that he met?
Ella Fitzgerald, Marlon Brando,
Louis Armstrong,
Gary Cooper,
Billie Holiday, I think.
Billie Holiday.
He claims to have saved Marilyn Monroe's life.
Judy Garland at some point. He just met everybody. Walter Winchell. So he was friends with all these celebrities, and he graduated and ended up becoming this fashion designer at 21 years old. He had his own line on 7th Avenue. Huge.
Why do I feel like something's going to go wrong, Leo?
I mean, it's like this story was, it's like he lived his life just for it to be written into a musical. All this is going his way, just as most stories go. And then all of a sudden he gets a call that he has to come back home. And we won't share with you exactly what happened that brought him back home, but he's got to go back to New Orleans, and there's no coming back.
So then I really had to made a decision to come back, you know. Like, I'm thinking of music all the while. I mean, coming back in the train, they had a sailor sitting opposite me, and I'm sitting here. Of course, I was crying and looking at New York slowly fading away,
Yeah.
you know, riding backwards, and I see the buildings fading away and further away.
You came back to New Orleans. Okay, and then you have to tell them the story about how you got involved in Mardi Gras.
Well, there's no place to go but Mardi Gras. Actually, I had a hard time getting into Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is like a close, kind of handed-down kind of thing. And they have all amateur designers. They don't have one professional designer. Like, I got into it a strange kind of way. Like, I started to work for this man, like he sold materials and stuff like that, Jules Greenberg. He did all the strippers. I ended up designing stripper costumes. Oh my God. But it wasn't stock because the captains came in to his place. He made sure I wasn't seen. I worked in the back room on the second floor, and they had rats running around, and I'm scared to death of rats. So and he knew all the different carnival captains. So anyway, but nothing happened. One of them did come in. He came in, and he told Jules, "I want to talk to this man. Don't talk to me. I want to talk to him, B2B." And thank God he did, you know, but he spoke to me. He said, "Yeah, I heard that you're a designer." And I said, "Yes, I am." I said, "A trained designer." So he said, "I want you to design a ball for me." And it was just my luck for it to be opera. And I love opera. And I loved all of the costuming for opera. I was lucky for it to be a theme, you know. That ball caused a sensation. What I did is I interpreted it in a modern way. And the people flipped because they had never seen it with a fashion flair and yet costuming. It was very unusual. That got me a lot of different things. And everybody was saying that like I came back to New Orleans just because I studied in New York. I think I could take over. They all put this story about me that wasn't true. Nothing. After people got to know me, they said, "Well, God, you're not at all like people say you are." I mean, you know, I love fashion design so much because I can give people that 15 minutes of fame. Because I wasn't just an auditor and designer. I was real good. And that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to take anything away from anybody, nothing like that. Mm-hmm.
After San returned to New Orleans, he ended up spending the rest of his life there designing Mardi Gras balls, you know, year after year after year after year after year. As much as he loved, as he said, giving people his 15 minutes of fame, and as much as he loved, you know, taking what was this very private thing and making it public, there were people that wanted more from him. At the end of the day, all San wanted to do was design. because that was his true passion, and that's really what made him special.
Yeah, and something that he, throughout the course of the show, learns from Lucky is just, he can't do anything other than be himself. I mean, his only motives were to make everybody look good.
And so instead of being pulled in all of these different directions, San decided that all he could be was San.
In every dream, in every nightmare, I travel back in time to New Orleans. To the popsicle sticks frayed into brushes that took the very place of those my father broke in. It's really good.
Pinky out.
It all started here. It started right here, and I'll never leave.
He does a video.
The folks around here, they knew what they meant. They said my whole life would be spent in New Orleans. And try as I might to leave, my heart will always be in New Orleans. In New Orleans. And I'm sorry I can't be who you wanted me to be. And I'm sorry I left for where I thought that I should be. But I'm here now by choice to sound my voice and be who I'm supposed to be. But I'm just me, and I can only ever be in every dream, in every nightmare. I end up on Royal Street in New Orleans. And try as I might to sleep, my dreams will always lead to New Orleans. I give my heart to you, and I'm sorry I can't be who you wanted me to be. And I'm sorry I left for where I thought that I should be. But I'm here now by choice to sound my voice and be who I'm supposed to be. I'm just me, and I can only ever be in New Orleans. I give my heart to New Orleans. I give my heart to you.
But this is all true.
We'll be seeing you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. We'll give you a call, okay? Soon? Bye, Sam. Thank you.
So many more like that.
Well, there are more, but they're going to get all of them. This is just meeting number one.
Okay. I like you two guys.
We like you.
Yeah, that's good, really. You guys are cool. You're laid back, and you let me open my fat mouth. But I actually enjoyed talking to you.
Us too. We really enjoyed this. Here's our number right there that you can call.
Oh, this is terrific.
So, very talented. When they put together some of the songs and some of the I'll send them to you. You can listen to it.
You guys are terrific.
See?
Oh my goodness.
That's about all the time we were allotted.
It's all we're sharing, but there's so much more. Obviously, this is a full-length musical, and we only showed you, 7 songs? This thing is huge. It's so exciting. We're very excited to share more.
As just like a little teaser to him, Leo, how many songs are there in this show?
41? Is that correct, David?
I think so. It's 5 fewer than Hamilton, however many Hamilton has. It's a lot of music, but he's got a life, He lived a life. 94 years of life.
In this video, we only really heard 9 of his stories, and there's just so many more. All these stories are just, you're sitting with San, and you're crying, and then all of a sudden you're laughing, and then all of a sudden you find yourself crying again, and then all of a sudden, the 4 of us are laughing, and it's just such a roller coaster.
He had just such a way of telling his own story where, You know, you could see it in his eyes. Everything you needed to know, you could see in his eyes. And so that's why it's so important to us that we take this archived footage that we have of him sharing his own story and share it with everyone.
Because the two of us telling this story is one thing, but hearing it from him, it's so different, and it also lets people into our world where, you know, we spent years listening to him.
Yeah.
And Rocky, our other co-producer, spent years and years and years.
About 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years listening to him tell the stories from him. I mean, everything that you are about to watch, if you're just starting now, or have just watched, is like just the beginning. David and I are constantly losing it. This is just draft 2. This is just 3 years in. This is just a year after his death. The last 3 years have been an absolute roller coaster. David, what did we do in the last 3 years? We met San is one thing. That's plenty. That's plenty. We met San. We went to Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras!
Happy Fat Tuesday!
We ended up finding ourselves at Harry Connick Jr.'s Mardi Gras ball for Orpheus Escapade.
And San designed costumes for Harry Connick Jr.
It's crazy.
We saw his stuff in museums.
It's crazy.
And I can't wait to see what else we get into because of this story. Next steps for us, we're hoping to do just a little staged reading type of thing in the near future. We have our second draft done, and we're hoping to understand if the way that we're telling his story makes sense. Because how do you fit 94 years of life into 2.5 hours of musical?
But just stay tuned. Follow all of our stuff.
Join in on the fun with us. Follow us on Instagram, where we'll be posting San-related stuff. And another great place to follow us is our Facebook page. Oh, join us. This is going to be a riot. You're not going to want to miss out.
I can only imagine that all these other amazing Broadway shows have had unbelievable journeys from pen to paper to opening night. Just join us. Like, I don't know, who knows? The worst that can happen is that you learned a little bit about a dude and listened to some good songs. But like, the best that can happen is that all of a sudden you've been along for this whole journey with the two of us goofballs as we're working on this whole show, and all of a sudden it could open on Broadway. Like, it's endless. So just, you know, like those pages, and then who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean,
who knows? So let's sign off somehow. How are we going to sign off, David?
well,
I don't know. This has been fun.
it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed, singing some tunes and listening to San talk a lot. Thank you to Underscore Theater Company for letting us steal their platform. We appreciate you letting us take over. The tip jar is for Underscore this evening. They do a lot of new original musical theater here in Chicago. That's their thing.
Go follow Underscore on all of their social media platforms, because we have writer buddies who are doing the same thing that we're doing tonight next week or this week.
Or last week.
So go watch their stuff too, because like they're cool too.
Again, I'm David Gosz.
And I'm Leo Fotos.
And we are Gosz and Fotos. Thanks for sitting through this, and hopefully you enjoyed it. When this becomes a post, share it. Tell your mom about it.
Tell your mom about it.
Tell your mom about this video.
I mean, always tell your mom about it.
She wants to follow San just as much as you do.
So this is all going to end in just a second. Now go back and watch it again and just like jam out. Let us know what your favorite song is.
Find the favorite timestamp and send that to us.
Ooh, I like that too. Okay, cool.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
And yeah, bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, here we go. Let's turn it off.